Welcome back to the Sly Guy TV. You're watching the Sly Guy, Sly Guy, Sly Guy. Kaboom, kaboom, super kaboom, yeah, kaboom. Here we go. Let's go. Oh, yeah, yeah. Coming down, David Rufal. It's the old school versus the new school. Old school versus modern. Versus modern. Come on the burn. Then we're coming back to school. I bet the teachers think we're cool. But now we're going up to stay up late. Gonna call up all the friends and watch the movie till the end. Then we'll never go to bed, yeah. Going out for some pizza and beer. She's so fine and the night sky is clear. Coming down and our parents won't know. Going right down to the rock show, rock show. Going out tonight. The only thing that feels so right. We're walking hand in hand. Trending. Going out tonight. We're gonna have another fight. I know what's going down. Pretending we're ending. Yeah. Welcome back, guys, to an episode of the Sly Guy TV with the Sly Guy. And right now, we are going to be comparing old school cards with new art. So it's going to be the old art versus the new art for the cards. Let's start out with our marquee spell and our top-notch card here, Dark Ritual. Okay, back in the day, this card was a staple. We used this in every single black deck. Common decks, which were worth less than 500 pesos, had access to speed of Dark Ritual. You can first turn Dark Ritual on Graders with an Unholy Strength, first turn Dark Ritual, a Hypnotic Spectre. Magic was cheap and powerful back then. You had this level of power for a very, very low price. This was a 20 peso card. Now, if you get a Dark Ritual, this is a 100 peso card. Inflation. The art changed. It has a modern card frame now, and of course, it's banded modern. It's banded so many formats that you can only use it in Legacy and old school vintage band, which actually sucks because right now, the only reason why they banned Dark Ritual back then was Invasion Block was very, very slow. They had cards like, we had this deck called Machine Head, which used cards just like this guy. Where's Blazing Spectre? Just looking for the Blazing Spectre now. Well, they had Pyrexian Skuta, which was supposedly the new Juzam de Jin, and they also had this guy come out in Invasion, the Blazing Spectre. Blazing Spectre, to them at the time, was way too fast. It was like a first turn hippie. Now you had a second turn Blazing Spectre, and people didn't like that. They didn't like the speed. So what they did is they just removed Dark Ritual, which sucks because this was my favorite card. This was actually a card which I normally used way back in the day. So that was the first card. Second card, which we're going to be comparing in terms of art, in terms of flavor, in terms of memory, because these cards were actually from the very first deck I used, Hypnotic Spectre. Classic Hypnotic Spectre, even if you wrote the card in a different language, I would recognize the card based on its art. Art plays a very, very visual part on knowing what the card is, which is why having 20 different variants for a specific mythic or a rare card will cause problems, because especially if you're facing off against a foreigner who has foreign language cards, you will get confused. You will not know which is the Hypnotic Spectre, which is the Swords to Plowshares, because you don't recognize the art. The art is what makes the card recognizable. If you had uniform art, then people would know this is a Hypnotic Spectre. I don't know what the hell this is. Is it a dragon? Is it like a bat or something? I'm not too familiar because this guy is the OG Hypnotic Spectre, and this is the Hypnotic Spectre that most people actually recognized. So, Hypnotic Spectre. Next up, we go to one of the most controversial cards from back in the day of Magic the Gathering, Hymn to Torak. Let's go and check the hymn. Hymn to Torak was a very iconic card way back in my high school days. People didn't like this card as it was from Fallen Empires. People just made the fun of it. Hymn to Torak. Goblin Grenade is better because it deals 5 damage. Him is useless. But once people got word of how powerful it was and how powerful this card was, people were snapping up this card. Every time somebody would open a box of Fallen Empires, people would get the hymns because these hymns are super strong. You can add them to any deck. They're cheap. You can add them to any deck. They provide you discard power, which you can also combine with cards such as Animate Dead. Animate Dead combined well with the hymn. And with all the cards combined with all of the cards finally together, you had a super powerful deck. You could hymn, you could animate. If you discard a big creature, you can animate it. The creature was yours. Or you can cast a Mind Stab Troll, sacrifice it, discard 3 cards, then play it again, and then the opponent would have no cards in hand. You would then use a Disrupting Scepter and the rack to make sure their hand stayed empty. This was absolute insanity and the nightmare of any blue control player back in the 90s. So, why are cards so expensive now? What changed in Magic the Gathering that really common, really good cards are gone and you have to turn to the mythic, the super expensive mythic variants, which are far slower than the old cards and more expensive? So what actually happened to Magic the Gathering? Well, what happened was Magic Finance. Just to tell you a story, back in the day, I tried to build an Armageddon deck way back in 1997. This was Christmas of 97, turning to 98. I said I was gonna build an Armageddon deck. I got my Urnhams, I got my Mitenda Lions, my JMD, my JMD, those Centaurs. What do you call them? Yeah. So basically, I had the Centaurs, I had the Lions, I had Mana Birds, Elves, Swords of Plowshares. I was just missing the Armageddons and I couldn't find them anywhere. They were gone. Stores were hoarding them for their teams. Speculators were hoarding the cards and then trying to sell them at a later price. So MTG Finance even existed way before. And it's just sad that regular players at the time had no access to MTG Mint. We had no access to Card Kingdom. You couldn't just go online to Facebook and order cards. You had to go to the store itself. And if you didn't know which stores had Armageddon, you were screwed. Now, times changed back then. Once texting and cell phones were invented, you had people who would look for the cards for you. They were called resellers. You just give them your number, they'd call you, they'd say, hey, I found this, that. Then you'd meet up with them, then you'd buy the cards. So that was pretty much the closest thing we had to a Card Kingdom back then. Right? But now, you can get these cards anywhere. They're available anywhere. Hymns, I can buy these guys online. Anywhere. Accessibility is cool, but who do you play them with? Where can you play them? Who will even agree to play with a deck full of Hymn to Torak? So, yeah, just something to think about. We do miss the good old days, but Modern Legacy and old school, old frame Magic is going to bring everything back. Stay tuned for our two latest formats in our next episode. Sly Guy TV with the Sly Guy signing off right